I talked to a woman today and she was having such a hard time. And while I will talk about it through the lens of marriage, because that's how it came to me, this really applies to many of you in many of the situations that you're in. In her particular situation, her husband has been having an affair and they reconciled and he moved back in with her. And so he's been saying things like, "You'll never trust me. You're the one who's causing me to feel this way. I will never be happy with you because you won't let me be happy." So this woman texted me. She's like, "How come I can't fix myself? How come I can't? Will I ever be able to trust him?" Taking on herself as if she was, in fact, the problem. Well, after talking to her, I said, "Sweetie," I didn't call her sweetie. I'm trying to do this nicely for the video, but I was like, let me make up a name. Jenny. I said, "Jenny, stop right here. I need to say to you that you are not the problem. This is a technique used by many abusers." Now, I want to stop right there because you know how I am about calling people names. Not all abusers are the ones that are doing these things, but not all people doing these things are abusers. You know what I'm saying? So a technique of many abusers was one that her husband was using on her. And he was trying to say, "See, I can never get better because you won't forgive me. You're the problem." And I said to her that there's two types of people, Jenny. I said, there are the people who are constantly too proud to take criticism from others, like, "It's not me, it's you. You're the one who's all at fault. Don't you dare blame me." When specifically in marriage, everybody's got fault. Yes, the person's cheating or having an affair, and maybe they have 90% of the fault, but you are never without fault. So whether you're 10% or 25% of the fault, those people you sometimes are the ones that say, "I'm not at fault. You had the affair, you're 100% at fault." Or "You're the one who's the addict, you're 100% at fault." Or "You're the one who's the gambler, you're 100% at fault." And I'm not going to hear it. So I'm more the proud defensive type. But then they're the second type, like Jenny was. And those are the type who are very open to communication, they're open to criticism, they're more humble than the average person. And when they are told that they have a flaw, they immediately listen to it, they take it in, they ponder it, they try to fix those areas. And so if I had to pick between the two, I'd say be that second person. But here's the problem. In her case, as is in the case of many others, I said, "Jenny, you are doing the opposite of my first example. You are taking on 100% of this. You're allowing your spouse to convince you that it really is you that's the problem." I said, "In this case, he is the problem, and you are actually increasing the problem by not standing up and saying that." And so for some people, it's very, very difficult to do this because their nature is not to be direct and in someone's face. It's to be gentle and take the hits and listen. And so one of the things I had to convince Jenny to do was to say the next time her husband said, "See, it's your fault. It's your fault that I'm not happy in our marriage because you won't trust me." And this is where she was instructed to say, "No, no, I will extend to you trust, but you have to earn it. And you have to admit that you caused my break in trust, and kind of be a mirror that reflects back to the person. No, I will take on my part of the fault, but I will not take on your part of the fault." And here's the great irony. In Jenny's case, even though her husband reconciled with her and moved back in, she did in fact find out he went out and had a date with the other woman. Now, this is one of those times where I said, see, what they often do is they feel guilty about what they're doing, and it's easier to push it off on you. Now, I don't have to get in with you with the details on how we're going to work with reconciling this relationship, but I want you to consider which person you are, because neither is good. Are you the person who, when corrected, when given instruction, is too proud and says, "Nope, it's not me, it's all you"? Because if you are that person, you really aren't going to ever get fixed. You're not going to be reconciled in your relationships, whether it's you and a child, you and a colleague, you and your boss, or you and your spouse, anything, you and a parent. You've got to be able to own, even if it's only 5%, without pride or defensiveness. You're part of the fault with great humility. You're right. I was wrong when I did ABC. And I hope you accept my apology. Or are you person number 2 who takes too much? Okay, you're right. You're right. It was the way that I chewed my food that made you leave and have the affair. Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm having a hard time trusting you. You're right. I was looking at your phone records. I'm so sorry. It must be me. It's so tough. Abusers do that. It's hard to change, no matter if you're the first person or the second person. But it helps if you notice these types first, these personalities, these examples. And I hope that's what I did. I hope I helped you to see it so that now you can ponder, what do I do now? Yeah. And for the second person in Jenny's case, she sometimes needs people to be her Aaron and her, like Moses was that held her up. Someone to say, no, no, you've admitted your part, but you need to stand firm. And in this case, as in many cases, you need to do this. You need to speak the truth and leave the consequences to God. We're all so afraid of the consequences. What if I say this and he never comes back? What if I say this and she does that? That's not on you. Your job is to do what you know to be good and right and truthful with love and leave the consequences to God. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening to another Breakfast with Bacon. And as always, remember to live your life sunny side up.